We have just gotten Season 1 Act 4's cutscene for Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, and my god, was that an insane cutscene. It had me on the edge the entire time. Definitely one of the best cutscenes we have gotten in Zombies thus far. The overall storyline in this game so far hasn't been that interesting. I really liked Act 3's ending cutscene, but the outside story with all of the radios and stuff like that hasn't been that engaging, and I'm glad that the storyline is really ramping up now quickly with Season 1, and can't wait to see what happens and how it evolves over the 6 seasons and how much it ties into COD 2024 Zombies, Gulf War Zombies, whatever it ends up being called. Anyways, I'm going to play the full cutscene for you now if you haven't already seen it, and then I'll dive deep into it and explain everything that I can take from this cutscene. Enjoy.
Drop your weapon! Drop it!
We will never be alone again. We will be one.
Johnson, this is Ravenov. Mr. Right team have returned from the rift.
Ravenov?
Ava, they made contact with some kind of entity. They're coming for debrief. Report to ops.
They met... what?
An entity inside the rift.
I'll be right there.
Okay, so first things first, I want to say that I am only going to be analysing this cutscene from the cutscene itself. I'm recording this right after it's been discovered, so I am unsure if further radios that get discovered may provide further context to this cutscene or anything like that. If any new story information is discovered after I post this video, I will be sure to have an updated video on the channel. Anyways, at the end of Act 4, the Deadbolt CIA operators managed to defeat the ether worm inside of the Dark Ether. Upon doing so, when they exit a rift to teleport out of the Dark Ether into the regular world, they are greeted by an anonymous entity who says, "You have stayed long enough, go back to the light." And I guess this is harping back on the fact that the regular world is essentially the light ether, with the Dark Ether being the underworld. The entity says, "This is not your domain, it is ours." Now, most likely this entity is Samantha Maxis. Of course, she was trapped in the Dark Ether at the end of Cold War Zombies to trap the Forsaken in the containment chamber. She sacrificed herself, and we're not sure about her fate, but as I'll come on to later in the cutscene, we find out that she is definitely still alive, and this is huge news. And because she has been in the Dark Ether all this time, we of course saw what happened to Zykov, spending 40 years in the Dark Ether, which was the equivalent of 400 Earth years, since time works differently, and he corrupted into one of the most powerful Elder Gods in there. Something similar might have happened to Samantha Maxis. Now, we know that the Dark Ether clones people and entities, so most likely there are many of these entities taking the form of Samantha Maxis, and I really do think that this is Samantha Maxis. It does kind of sound like her, and her figure seems very similar. However, we do know that the Forsaken appears to be the announcer in Modern Warfare 3 Zombies. It sounds distinctively similar to him.
It's the kid.
So I'm not exactly sure what this means. Does this mean that the Forsaken manages to escape in Gulf War zombies from the containment chamber, or maybe he is still the announcer from within the containment chamber? We're not sure what happens to the Forsaken, because if Samantha Maxis might now be an Elder God and maybe in control of the Dark Ether even, why would the Forsaken still be there unless they are both somehow working together? They're both somehow still in control. We're not really sure, and we're not really sure how this factors into Eddie Richtofen's plan as well, which I'll come onto in a second. Anyways, the cutscene then pans to the scientist Ava Jamson picking up her pills. Now, of course, in the Act 3 cutscene, we know that she has Dark Ether powers similar to Samantha Maxis. This entity was talking to her, which again is probably Samantha Maxis. We don't really know why she has these powers, but she's been taking these pills, I guess, to try and suppress them. It seems like this entity has been talking to her and getting into her mind for a very long time, and it seems like she's trying to convince Ava to let the entities free from the Dark Ether, in a similar way to Zykov pretending to be Valentina's father throughout the events of Cold War Zombies to trick her into trying to free him from the Dark Ether. Now, we're not really sure as to why she has these powers. Has she been trapped in the Dark Ether before, similar to Samantha Maxis? Has she just been exposed to large amounts of Ethereum, potentially even injecting herself? We're not exactly sure, but most likely something happened within her childhood. I think maybe she's been in the Dark Ether before, and that would explain as to why she has so much knowledge on the Dark Ether to begin with, to begin her scientific research. Now, I've seen a theory floating around that maybe she is Dr. Gray's daughter, and maybe something happens in COD 2024 Zombies that may explain as to how she got these powers. She might be present in that game as a child or something like that. Anyways, as the cutscene continues, it appears as though zombies have overrun the facility, the CIA deadbolt facility, and zombies start raiding in. She picks up a gun, and then we see a bunch of familiar characters. We appear to see Samantha Maxis, we see Gregory Weaver, clearly with his eye patch, and in the subtitles, all of these zombies are just referred to as entities, and it appears as though we see other Requiem heads. We also see at one point Soap, so it just seems like almost everyone is envisioned as a zombie in this cutscene. I'm sure there's many other characters that you can probably point out, and let me know if you notice any in the comment section down below. There is one moment though when she goes to shoot or kill a zombie and its head drops on the ground, and that looks strikingly similar to Eddie Richtofen. So yeah, I'm not really sure exactly what this cutscene means, because of course in the intro cutscene for Modern Warfare 3 Zombies, Victor Zakhaev gets these Ethereum vials from this room underneath a hotel in Urzikstan. In this room, we of course see Gregory Weaver and the other Requiem heads are deceased, lying around some sort of device where maybe they sacrificed themselves to try and free Samantha Maxis, or they were tricked. Something happened that caused them to sacrifice their lives, their soul, for some reason. Maybe Samantha was the one tricking them, or maybe it had something to do with Eddie Richtofen. We're not exactly sure, but they died, so it makes sense why they're appearing in this cutscene, because they are deceased. But like I said, we see other characters such as Soap. Now, of course, we know Soap dies in Modern Warfare 3's campaign, but this is a prequel in 2021, so it's set before then, so we're not sure why Soap is portrayed as a zombie, or why other characters are, such as Richtofen. We don't know the fate of Richtofen right now. We don't know what he is up to after he closed down Requiem in 1985. Now, Ava goes absolutely ham in this cutscene. She is an absolute warrior, just completely taking them all out with her blade, but then the cutscene cuts, and we see that this appeared to be some sort of hallucination, and she accidentally killed Sergei Ravenov because she thought she was killing a zombie in her head. However, no, this appears to be yet another hallucination, as then it cuts back to her in her locker, and we hear that the entity seems to have possessed her, saying, "We will never be alone again, we will be one." We then hear Ravenov talking on the radio, letting her know that the strike team returned from the rift and they were contacted by the entity that we see at the beginning of the cutscene, who is, like I said, probably Samantha Maxis. So what exactly does this all mean? I think that the events that she saw are definitely important. It's not just all a hallucination that's irrelevant. So the entity, who is probably Samantha Maxis, is taking her over and possessing her. Either she will literally become Samantha Maxis herself, or maybe she's just going to be possessed to let her free from the Dark Ether. We're not exactly sure what's going on. And also, the entity doesn't appear to be one person. So while Samantha Maxis definitely seems to be involved, they describe themselves as multiple people and say, "We will be one." So I don't know what's going on here. Are multiple people merging together? Who are all the people that are making up these entities? Is it everyone deceased in the Dark Ether? Does this also include Weaver and all of the other characters that we see her fighting? Are they all this entity, and all the deceased deceased are kind of merging together into one. And when it says we will not be alone again, is that again Samantha Maxis? That definitely sounds like something she would say, since obviously she was very lost in her mindset throughout the events of Cold War Zombies before then being manipulated by Eddie Richtofen when he interrogated her, leading to her cementing she's a good soul and sacrificing herself to trap the Forsaken. Is the entity also Samuel, who is probably the child of Eddie Richtofen that we see in his portrait on his desk? Because there's a lot of intel in Cold War Zombies that seems to suggest that Gregory Weaver was giving intel on a special target by the CIA to assassinate, and he was given this information and intel by Samantha Maxis, and this target was most likely Eddie Richtofen, and he attempted to kill this target, thought he did so, but they seemed to survive, and then he burned the house down afterwards without knowing that his wife and child were inside. And maybe Samuel then ended up trapped in the dark ether as a result and bonded with Mr. Peaks, the bunny rabbit. And then maybe if Samantha Maxis was in the dark ether, all these different deceased people or these entities might all just start be merging together as one. As I was saying, I'm not really sure what's going on here, I don't know what to make of it, but this is really intriguing. It's got my interest engaged highly. And like I said before, I don't think all of this is just a hallucination irrelevant to the story, and I'm wondering if when she kills Sergei Ravenov, is this a foreshadowing for what's to come? Is she seeing into the future that these events might actually happen? She might kill Ravenov just as in this cutscene, and she just saw into the future there. Or maybe Ravenov dies in some other way and this is just foreshadowing that. After all, the Forsaken foreshadowed that Weaver and the other Requiem heads would die, potentially even as a result of Samantha Maxis because she's in the background, and that seems to have come true. Of course, because time works differently in the dark ether, it seems like inhabitants seem to have insight into the future because time doesn't work linearly as much. And I wonder, even with this hallucination of all these zombies fighting her, if that has some sort of foreshadowing for what's to come in the future as well. Unless this is just kind of a metaphor for these entities trying to get in to her psyche and she's fighting them off and not letting them, but in the end she succumbs to the entities and they manage to absorb her and control her. And as we're saying, I think these entities are literally all the deceased in the dark ether. This may include Samantha Maxis, who might actually be in control, but it may also include Weaver and all of these other people. So yeah, this cutscene is so intriguing, and I'm really excited as to what happens next, because like I was saying, she is informed that the operators met some sort of entity, but most likely Act 5 will then dive deeper into this entity and they'll be trying to figure out more about it. And the most interesting thing is that at the end of the cutscene, it pans to her computer where she's looking at these files, and she sees, of course, Weaver, Gray, Carver are all deceased because they were there in that room underneath Urzikstan where Zakhaev got the vials from. Weirdly enough, there's no mention of Strauss here though, so I'm not sure what that is. Now we see Ravenov is still active. Like I said, it was a hallucination that he dies. I find it weird that all these pictures are the pictures from Cold War Zombies though. For example, Ravenov is literally present, so why don't they have an up-to-date photo? I don't really understand that. And then we have Samantha Maxis, and it appears as though she is still active. It says classified Janus directive, and then there's a code next to her saying 6776D. No idea what that means. Let me know your theories down below. But this is huge news. What does this mean? Now, throughout Cold War Zombies, Eddie Richtofen was working on a secret project known as Project Janus. We don't know exactly what his goal is with this, whether it's to try and rescue his son Samuel that might have been deceased thanks to Weaver and get back at them. We literally have no idea, but he has memories still from the dark ether. So what exactly is his plan with Janus? We just know that there's been an uber rich group that are very secretive financing this project, but he's basically been using them just for the money to advance his own goals. And we know that for Project Janus, he required Samantha Maxis to be trapped in the dark ether, he required the Forsaken to be trapped in the containment chamber, and we know that Richtofen was up to something for Project Janus, building tunnels in West Virginia and clearing the area of civilians for something. We just don't know what, whether it's a huge gateway to the dark ether, we're not exactly sure, but that's surely relevant for Gulf War Zombies, and I wonder how much that ties into the events of Modern Warfare 3 as well. But what exactly is his goal here? And is Samantha Maxis now working on Project Janus? It lists her as directive. Is she now the director? I'm a bit confused what's going on here. Honestly, I don't even know what to make out of this. Are Richtofen and Samantha Maxis now working together even? And like I said, I have no idea what their goal is with Project Janus even. This is so surprising news. But like I said, Eddie Richtofen still has his memories of the dark ether. He knew Samantha's birth date in Cold War Zombies, for example, and knew lots of information, but Samantha Maxis had amnesia after she was trapped in the dark ether on Firebase C, but slowly she started regaining regaining her memories, so maybe eventually she fully regains her memories, but surely in that case she would then be mad at Richtofen for interrogating her and brainwashing her and everything like that. But alternatively, maybe when Samantha Maxis fully regains her memories, she forms some kind of trauma bond with Richtofen because they were the only two to enter this new universe from the prior Ether storyline, and we don't know what happened to them after they entered this new universe and how they separated, but maybe they still feel a connection together because they came through together, and maybe they're working together for some reason. As I was saying, I really don't know what exactly is going on here in the storyline. It's so crazy, but I'm glad that we're left so much in the dark because it makes me excited for what is to come. So that's everything I wanted to say in this video. Let me know your thoughts and theories in the comment section down below as always. Also, because Richtofen might have been a zombie in the cutscene, does this suggest Richtofen dies? I really don't think they would kill off Richtofen considering we didn't even see him barely in Cold War Zombies. If they just have him in Gulf War Zombies and then he dies, I don't think they would do that. But if Richtofen dies and then Maxis takes his place as director or the overseer of Project Janus, what would that mean? I don't know, but this is really wild. So anyways, leave all of your theories below like I said, and let me know if I've missed anything as well. Thank you for watching the video. Make sure to subscribe if you're not for the latest and greatest Call of Duty news and information. So anyways, thank you for watching, and bye.